You're watching World Talks on TVP World. I'm Aaron Dahmen. Another package of Russia sanctions is on the table in Brussels as EU leaders meet to thrash out what leaders will do next in the fight against Moscow. It comes just hours after a major NATO summit at The Hague, which noted the long-term threat posed by Russia, but failed to explicitly condemn the invasion of Ukraine. Joining me now for more is Artur Nowak-Far, Professor of Law and Economics at the Warsaw School of Economics. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So this 18th Russia sanctions package, how are you expecting it to play out? Will the likes of Hungary, Slovakia ultimately block progress?
We don't know, but it's already the 18th sanction package, and the game of the Hungarians, at least, is repeating itself in a way that they always, at the very beginning, oppose the sanction package. They get something just to relax, and then at the end of the day, they accept the decision. We don't know whether that is going to happen this time, but I guess it is. The only important showstopper, however, is the energy part of this energy-related part of the sanction, but it's still, I think, something which can be done can be relieved, can be done in a way acceptable for the Slovaks and the Hungarians.
You mentioned there Hungary kind of repeating over and over again the same playbook. How crippling is that to the EU's efforts on Russia, to this idea that Brussels and the EU can come to the table as a unified force on Russia, and otherwise Vladimir Putin would seem to be emboldened by feeling like there's disunity there, right?
Right. Well, first of all, it shows a lack of unity anyway, which is already sort of embedded in the decision-making process in the European Union, and should not be like that if you want to play or show your muscles. The second issue here is that, it's all the time about bargaining, all the time about the Hungarians wanting something for themselves, just to make things happen in the European Union, and again, that should not be like that, but it is. Today, the situation is a little bit sort of reinforced in a bad way, because the Hungarians are allying with the Slovaks. But it's all the time the same playbook, as you have already noticed.
You mentioned the energy showstopper, so to speak. Can you elaborate a bit on what are some of the specific sanctions that we can expect or that are proposed in this 18th package? And specifically, I'm interested, is an oil price cap on Russia, is that still in the picture?
Yes, it is still in the picture. However, it is rather difficult. What we need to know is that there is already a cap on the price of Russian oil whenever it is bought by the Western allies, and that is set at the level of $60 per barrel. The idea of the 18th lower it to $45. And your question is quite in place, because the idea of lowering the cap had been formulated a little bit before the situation in the Middle East. Nowadays, the oil market is a little bit destabilized, and As a result, it would be rather difficult for the European Union to find a common ground to accept $45 per barrel. But, well, it is still on the table. It should be discussed, and it is discussed. Another issue is the cab and the whole package is to reduce the volume which is purchased from Russia. And the problem with the Slovaks and the Hungarians is that they have, throughout many years now, realized the policy which is well based on the Russian oil. They failed to differentiate the sources of energy, and as a result, they are now in a position where they cannot really accept any major limitation of their access to the Russian oil. The solution which is being proposed to them is that they will have a special exemption, and the exemption will be valid for the next 2 years, but that still makes them not very happy. That makes them not very comfortable, together with the other elements of the agenda.
Much talk about Washington, the US this week, given the NATO summit. But how much does the lack of US buy-in to that lower oil price cap you mentioned there, $45, how does that play into Europe's decision? Because it feels to me that either they go alone and sort of risk the wrath of Washington, or indeed are not able to enact it effectively, or they perhaps endlessly wait.
Well, they have to somehow comfort the Americans, and they have to work together, because America, with its sources of oil and with its possible access of oil to the Europeans, make the whole picture complete. If they are not cooperative, then the whole package pertaining to the oil, the European package, would not work.
Now, on the topic of sanctions, I want to play you a soundbite of European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. This is from the NATO summit this week. Have a listen.
We have to put pressure on President Putin that he comes to the negotiation table and that he's engaging seriously in negotiations for a just and lasting peace. Therefore, the 18th sanctions package is a biting one, is a hard one. I know that our G7 friends will follow suit with their sanctions. So all this shows you are among friends, you can count on us, we stand by your side.
So Ursula von der Leyen there saying that the sanctions package would be biting. I'm interested in your view on this. When you have 18 sanctions packages, can they still be biting, or does having so many of them show they're not really working?
Well, they have to be adopted gradually, and you should not really have a policy where with the first package of sanctions you do everything. Because you'll have to have some scope of maneuver and to somehow react to the possibly ever-changing situation. Don't get tired out of the number of sanctions. They are really biting. They are, I guess, quite fit to the situation, and they have to be adopted.
So you feel that
there's no such thing like a fatigue of sanctions, and it's good that we still have some scope of maneuver.
So you feel that sanctions are still effective, they do indeed deter Vladimir Putin?
Oh yes, they have been many signs of it, and the economic situation in Russia has been deteriorating for many couple of years now. So no doubt it is biting, it is effective. The only problem is that we are talking here about rigidity and some rigidity of the state, rigidity of the society, and how acceptable the deterioration of economic situation is.
How much further can the EU go from here? Does it have any other tools beyond these sanctions that could really hurt Russia?
Well, I don't think so. Sanctions are to bite, the only other tools are a little bit more dramatic. That would be something about the kinetic war, and I don't think the Europeans or the allies want to use it.
Let me ask you then about the sanctions program as a whole. The way I understand it, they will attempt to be rolled over at the end of July. We've talked about Hungary and potentially Slovakia and that playbook of threatening to veto, agreeing, potentially vetoing, and this game. What confidence do you have that those sanctions and the sanctions program as a whole will roll over at the end of July?
Well, we are not the decision makers, so it's really difficult to predict. What we do is we are predicting based on the experience of all the negotiations which have already taken place. But the situation is not 100% predictable.
How concerning would it be if that sanctions package didn't roll over?
It would be very concerning because that will show that we, the Europeans, we, the Western world, are not in unity. We are already broken inside, and that would even enforce the strength of all the military, complex in Russia. That would be rather dangerous.
Artur Nowak-Far, Professor of Law and Economics at the Warsaw School of Economics. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. Do stay with us. I'm Dahmen. Goodbye for now.